Okay. All right, Chris, we're live. Welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock, a live stream February 23rd. Exciting day in the markets as always. And we're back with i3 Interactive bets, BETS on the CSE, BLITF over the counter. For anybody that is new to our program, our goal is to bring you those stocks which have that 10x to 100x upside potential. We've had a number of 10x and 20x stocks, and we actually have this week we had our first 50x, a stock that's up 5,000%, which is amazing. That's Empower Clinics. So we're going to find out now if i3 could be that next 10 bagger or even 100 bagger, because we haven't had that 100 bagger yet. So we're going to find out today. As always, everybody who's watching, you guys are invited. Please ask your questions to Chris, throughout the interview. Put up through the live chat. Ask your questions, and then decide for yourself if bets is going to be that next 10 bagger or 100 bagger stock. And again, what we're going after is companies which have three things in common. They're going after multi-billion-dollar market opportunities. They're at a key inflection point right now, right in their growth, and there is multiple catalysts in place to unleash shareholder value. So with that said, Chris, welcome back.
How are you, Jack?
Fantastic. So hang on, let me just pull up here we go. Just want to pull up this one thing over here. Okay. So Chris, a lot of excitement right now in the gaming, betting, sports betting space. I want to talk about Canada because that's been getting a lot of attention right now. But first, I want to actually talk about your big market, like where you're starting off, like in kind of your global strategy is India.
India, Latin, and Latin America as well.
So why? Well, first of all, India. I don't know if there's any other public company that's in the Indian market. So why did you choose to start there? And what are you doing there?
In all honesty, I'm just going to X something out here, Jack, so we don't have anything beeping. Okay. It's my email. The India market, so as a management team, 6 months prior to us going public, we met in Montreal, and we're looking. If you looked around the table, we had we have Andy Lee. He ran PokerStars, and William Hill, along with Ralph Topping and William Hill, because I know Ralph will watch this, so we're good friends. And Ralph, if I said he ran it over Ralph would have a problem with that. Andy was he was running online at William Hill. Then he left and he was running PokerStars, their sports book. Him and Ian Merriman launched the PokerStars sportsbook and turned it into $100 million profit center. 4 stars. Both of those gentlemen are on our C-level team, Ian and Andy. And then we have the 2 guys that were running Bodog in international markets, at the CEO of Bodog, as well as the chief strategy officer, all sitting around a table and discussing, do we enter Canada first? Do we enter the U.S.? Everybody, the hottest thing for everyone is to enter the U.S. market. And, our goals are a little different than a lot of these companies that are going and spending $20 million in the U.S. to buy, 4 casino licenses. We start a business, every one of us have ran businesses based on cash flow and positive cash flow. So our goal is to get the positive cash flow as fast as possible. So when we looked at all the different markets that we were all experienced in working in, India, it just stands out. There's so much of a correlation between India and the United States 2004, 2005, when the Chris Moneymaker poker boom happened. I'm sure some of the listeners will remember that everybody had everyone had a home game of poker. Everyone was playing online poker. 2004 to 2010, there was a massive poker boom. We saw it was like staring at the U.S. again, looking at the India market. Keep in mind, it's the fastest growing market in the world. 65% of their population are under 35, and the majority of them are very into gaming and skill gaming. Our products that we offer in the India market, We bought Live Pools, which is a daily fantasy sports product. Let me touch on that, Jack. Like once we go through the products we offer, we offer an online poker product. This is we offer skill gaming, Rummy, which is huge. Rummy is one of the biggest offerings in the India market. We do quiz games. We do esports in the India market. This is all part of our offering as we're creating an ecosystem.
Is that gin rummy?
Yeah, well, it's similar.
Okay.
They have their own Rummy over in India, and it's one of the most popular games in the country.
Interesting. Okay, so basically, so you got into the Indian space because that's sort of like that's kind of like a ground floor opportunity where you can reach cash flow.
Yeah, I mean, for us, when you look at the India market and you compare it to any other market, look, the lifetime value of the player is, there's two things that are for the listener that are extremely important in our space. One is what makes and breaks a company in the online gaming world is your cost per acquisition and your ability to your lifetime value of that player. So inside of lifetime value is how much the player is worth per year for you and how you retain them, how you convert them, how you reactivate them. So those three, those aspects are the most important aspects to an online gambling company. So in the India market, right now we're acquiring players at less than $25. And, I'll give you an example in the US. The lowest cost per acquisition, I would guess, that any company is getting through we're getting hammered with questions. We can go back to those questions.
I'm popping up, but we'll go to them later.
The lowest cost per acquisition in the US market, if I was guessing, would be $500 to $700 US for a sports bettor. For a casino player, we're talking $1,000 to $1,200. Like iGaming casino poker players are worth about 3x what a sports bettor is worth to a platform.
Because
you're looking at lifetime value,
more profitable, basically. The iGaming is
3x more profitable an online casino versus an online sports book.
Okay, so I just want to recap. So basically, in India, your acquisition cost for a player is $25.
Could be less. We're using an influencer strategy, which we plan on using as well in the US market when we enter. And, we have influencers that are Bollywood stars with 40, 50 million followers that we're using. We have the captain of the India international cricket team. He's the goalie. He has 27, 30 million, I think, across all the platforms of social media. And using these influencers, we're getting traffic. On average, our poker room is seeing 1,000 to 1,500 new players a day. Those numbers are we're the second fastest growing poker room in India right now, next to Ada. Ada has it's probably worth about $500 million. They've been in the market for quite some time. So from a fast, we acquired this company, and since then we've 5x the revenue in the India market.
Okay, so getting back to the acquisition cost, it's very, very compelling. So basically, in India, it costs you $25 to acquire a player. In the US, it's $500. So
minimum. Some companies are paying. I'll give you an example. I mean, I won't get into the names, but there's a sports network that owns a sports book in the United States, and they're paying another company $1,200. I mean, I'll just get into it. Who cares? FoxBet, it doesn't matter. FoxBet are paying $1,200 per player to the Fox Sports Network. So let's talk about that for a second. A poker player for them would be worth, let's call it 300 US. A sports bettor would be worth 350, 400. So they're paying anywhere from, depending on the volume per month, to Fox, Fox NFL Sunday. They're driving traffic to that app. They're doing all kinds of unique things to get people, to download it. They're paying $1,000 to $1,300 depending on what type of player it is. If it's a casino player or if it's a poker player, they have negative return on that money, and they're thinking that long term they can retain the players long enough to get a positive ROI. I don't think that, in my personal opinion, and I've been running gambling companies since 2004. I do not think that's a really good strategy unless you have unlimited cash flow, which in this case they do. But at some point, your shareholders want to see an ROI and positive EBITDA from your expenses. So
No,
we went after the India market in a way to create positive cash flow, reinvest in the market, grow our company to a different level in that market. I'll give you an example of what.
But I think it's important for the audience to know is the India market is kind of like that's your launch pad. That's where
Yes,
you're starting. But your goals, your ambitions really are global. U.S.,
global,
Canada,
100%.
Latin. Okay,
Yeah,
so India is just a great starting point. It's an untapped market. And let's go into details. I think one of the questions I think people are asking, okay, so it costs you $25 to acquire a player, but what kind of revenues do they
exactly.
generate?
So we're acquiring players for $25-$30. Let's say that those players are worth anywhere from 160 to 190 US. So we're getting 6-7 times profit on an acquisition in the India market, whereas
in the US, have comparison?
negative, a lot of times it's negative. Like
Okay.
I'm not here to dump on anyone.
So that makes sense. Okay, so basically,
Now,
it's a smart strategy. Okay, so Chris, now here's what's very interesting. Like, I think in terms of in this space, in the online gaming space, you have new companies. Very few of these guys really have as much experience as you have. Like, basically being from the start of online gaming. So give the audience a snapshot of your background. When did you get started? Like, give us the whole experience, and we'll talk a little bit about kind of the team you've put together, which I think is critical here.
Sure. 2003. I had a company that was helping me pay through grad school. Took an MBA in finance. Was going to go work in investment banking. I had another distribution ice cream and water company that I ended up selling to Fortune 500 company. And from there, the NHL went on strike in 2004, or 2003, 2004, if everyone remembers. And all of the sports networks in Canada were trying to fill, time where they were playing hockey games with, content. So what happened was the Chris Moneymaker boom happened in 2002, 2003. So poker and the World Poker Tour got huge. So poker was everywhere on television. I just sold my company. I knew nothing about online gambling. And I just thought to myself, I'm starting an online gambling company. So I reached out to a friend who lived in Costa Rica for a long time and said, look, who can I buy a poker software off of? He gave me a contact. I got on a plane. I flew to San Jose, went to Escazú outside of San Jose, and ended up buying a perpetual license to launch my own poker platform. From there, I ended up partnering with Daniel Negreanu, the poker player who everyone would know. Daniel Negreanu would be like the Wayne Gretzky if you're using hockey, or the Joe Montana if you're using football. Partnered with Daniel. We launched the Canadian University Poker Championship. We had a TV show with that, and we gave away a free tuition to a student as well as a seat in the main event of the World Series of Poker.
Why do they need tuition where they could just make a living playing poker?
I think we were showing them that they could make a living playing poker.
Oh, tuition, not to school, but to like some poker.
No, free tuition to the university. That was the prize if they won the championship.
Okay.
I paid the company paid their tuition.
Okay. No, but why go to school if you can just make a living playing poker?
I mean, look, my mom was big on school, so
it's for the parents, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah. This isn't a Gary Vee show where I tell everyone to drop out of school and take a shot. But we launched that, and then I expanded that company into the US the following year. Daniel ended up signing with Poker Stars, so we just did it as the United States University Poker Championship. And then the following year, I grew organically again through cash flow. I was the only shareholder into the UK, then into Ireland, and then into Australia, New Zealand. And that company was acquired in 2010 We had 797 active poker players across 4 networks. So I had the players across multiple poker networks, and then I sold that company, and I had a 3-year non-compete. And at that time, I started doing VC money. I was allowed to do VC investing in the gaming space, so I got heavy into the VC world and heavy into backing players, which was a great experience as well. And then from being in the business for 20 years, I've created long-term relationships with some really good people. Andy Lee from PokerStars, Ralph Topping, who's an advisor and a mentor to me. Ralph was the CEO and chairman of William Hill for 43 years. Ralph started there in the stores where the betting shops, and then finished as chairman and CEO of that company. And then I had personal relationships with all of our management. And, the real key is, you have a company such as, one of the private companies that a lot of our management work for, and there's one owner and one shareholder, and none of them have equity. So, with a public company, it's stock options, performance bonuses through stock. And we've incentivized a lot of our management. These guys that are working for us are taking, let's call it 20% of the salary they were receiving at the larger billion-dollar companies to grow this into a company where they have equity, that either a sale occurs or, we exit the company in some way, and we can, and the people that involved can cash out their stock.
So basically, your management team essentially. Okay, so they've come out of these. Okay, you talked before we got on the call. You mentioned like a private company that's in the that's generating, I think you mentioned some crazy numbers. It's like 800 million profit that the guy's doing.
That's just in the U.S. That's just in the U.S.
And it's a one owner. It's one guy. So
it's considered a block. It operates. They call it in the black markets, which is this company. It's offshore and doesn't have regulatory licenses to operate in New York, for example, but they're taking New York customers today. So they could never, go through we're only operating in regulated markets. Regulated markets means that we apply for a license, we get a license, the management has been vetted, and we've never operated in black markets, which are illegal today. So, the company we talked about, they talk about the Canadian market and how much money they say that it's a $3 to $5 billion market. And, when you look at Canada, it's the same size as California in terms of the number of people. New Jersey, I laugh when I see $3 to $5 billion, because they have no idea that, one company is doing $1 billion in profit out of the Canadian market, that one of our C-level executives was the CEO of, and he's working in the India market and Latin America for us. But, he used to do $1 billion in profit out of the Canadian market. That's one company. So, when the U.S. started,
you've put together that team. Basically, essentially what you have is an all-star team of players. Basically, these guys are working for these private companies. Let's call it in the black or gray market. So, they might have been making
not all of them.
Oh.
Some of them are working for PokerStars.
Okay.
Andy and Ian were working for PokerStars, and they worked for William Hill, which was a public company as well. So, that was just one guy. We were one or two of our consultants that run all of the India, Latin America market. We were discussing and how much money is in that market.
I think the takeaway really is they're coming to you, to i3 Interactive. They're joining at a fraction of their salary because they're looking to make their upside from the stock. They're looking to create massive value, like this ground floor opportunity. So, when the stock is, let's call it, I don't know, let's just say it goes 10x or 20x from here, which is, let's say, $20, right?
Yes.
I know it sounds crazy, but we already have companies that are up 20x. We have several companies that have been up 20x. So it's possible, So now I want to actually ask you, I opened that up. So I'll go with that. Is there a path? So is there, and what is the path for i3 to be, let's say, a $10 stock or higher?
I mean,
Like, how much would it take?
we're taking a different approach than a lot of these companies. I mean, if you look at the United States and what they're doing, and in the first year, what people have discovered, like i.e. the casino owners, I think that they're starting to change their mind on selling their licenses and losing their customer base. So I'll give you an example, Jack. Say you pick a casino in Atlantic City.
Uh, shoot,
Pick
I don't know.
one.
Win. I don't know. Win isn't.
Yeah, Win.
I don't know.
So the Win would be granted 5 licenses in New Jersey, and they could sell those licenses. They can keep those licenses and launch products with. And when you sell a license in New Jersey, initially you were getting about $5 million for that license. And then the Win would get 7% of the profits of the company they sold it to. So let's just use an example. They sold it to DraftKings. Like, I'm just using this as an example.
Okay.
So DraftKings would cut a check to the Win for $5 million. They would then get 7% of all the profits that the Win that the online company generated. And they thought they would be happy because they'd have all this foot traffic continuing to enter and stay at the Win and spend money at the Win. So their lifetime value of their land-based casino was still staying the same, and the online was just an add-on. So with the pandemic happening, what we saw and why we're going to see a shift in the United States, because we have to see a shift, is what they're not, no casino is getting foot traffic through the doors right now. So they're dependent on this online money, which at 7% is pennies. You can't run a massive online land-based casino on 7% of profit from your original customer base. So now what you're seeing is we are being approached constantly right now to bring our management team in to run the online arms of these land-based casinos. So what you're going to see from our team is we're basically creating, like, let's use the McKinsey model, a B2C arm that will go in and run the B2C operations for a casino in a certain state. The reason is I can't run, you couldn't hire me to run a land-based casino. I have absolutely no idea how to do that. But the online casino, online sportsbook world, they have no idea how to run that as well. So, it's completely like, we're comparing apples to oranges here. If you look at running a land-based versus running an online business. So what's happening now is these casinos are looking at we're getting $3 to $5 million for a license, and we're getting 7% of the revenue. How do we do this better and maintain our brand recognition, maintain our brand image? These customers don't become, customers of William Hill, or if we sold a license to them, or FanDuel or DraftKings. So what happens now is the Win's customers, they're being marketed to whoever they sell the license to. All of a sudden, that customer no longer they no longer recognize they're a Win customer in Atlantic City. They're now a DraftKings customer, a William Hill customer. And so what's happening is these, large brands such as DraftKings, FanDuel, William Hill, they're getting, let's call it, in New Jersey, there's 16.5% tax, and then they give 7% to the casino. It's 23%. So let's just say they're making 70. We'll ignore processing fees and cost. Say they're getting 70% of the profit from customers that the Win spent years marketing to, and retention tools, giveaways, promotions, marketing. So what you're seeing is a shift in the marketplace where we're being approached constantly as we speak in 7 states right now. We're in talks with different land-based casinos to enter and to run their online arm, and where for us it's all about cash flow. It's all about growing our top line, bottom line numbers. I'm not this isn't a contest for me to have a bigger brand than DraftKings or FanDuel. That may never happen. Or Penn. Penn bought 30% of Barstool. So, they're using that strategy to acquire customers because they know how expensive the CPA is in the US, like I mentioned. So, as we look long term here, I think Penn's in a good position based on owning 30% of Barstool. I think people think they own 100 to get cheaper players than most. But, the DraftKings of the world, they don't really have a strategy other than spend, try to acquire. And then that's when they're getting into the $1,000 CPAs. During the Kentucky Derby, I have firsthand knowledge. They were spending $2,500 a player, and they did a $5 million marketing spend during the Kentucky Derby. Like you'll never get an ROI on those customers. So for us, it's all about profitability, growing revenue, growing our business. Not about being front and center in people's faces. It's about making money.
Okay, and so actually, so you mentioned, so there's another kind of facet to your model. You say you're also essentially going to be doing this kind of, I guess, operations for land-based casinos of their
Sure.
online. That's going to be another part of your business in the U.S.
That's going to be we're using that strategy.
Okay, so there's multiple facets here. You got the Indian market, which is B2C.
We have the Canadian market. We're doing $1 million. We'll probably do $1 million this year in that market in gross gaming revenue.
Okay. In the Canadian market, now what's going on in terms of the sports betting? This is opening up now, right? Or they're going to open it up. So what's kind of your strategy for Canada? Like what do you see as the opportunity there?
We acquired a company that is based offshore that had a license that could allow them to operate in Canada. So we did that in July, maybe the beginning of August. And so we'll be front and center. We have the same mentality that many of the online casinos have, which is get in the application process, apply. And I think I digressed when I was talking about the Canadian market. They're valuing it at $3 to $5 billion, but it's the same size as California in terms of the number of people living in Canada. So New Jersey, that market alone, that was valued when we initially launched in New Jersey, like the online gambling sector. When I say we, at $1 to $2 billion for the year. So it was a $1 to $2 billion market. Companies were hesitant to go into that market. What we're seeing now is it's the largest and the fastest growing market in the United States right now. They're doing $1 billion a month in New Jersey. The state of New Jersey is getting $165 million in tax money, a month.
10 times. So it's 10 times bigger than what they expected it to be.
Exactly. And, I mentioned, we were talking prior to jumping on stream. I mentioned, I know one company, like from working in the industry, that's doing $1 billion out of the Canadian market themselves. And they're only valuing the market at $3 billion. So I think their numbers are way off with regards to the size. I think a lot of the offshore books are doing hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in Canada. And, how you convert these people from offshore books to Canadian books is by legitimizing the operation and allowing the customers to withdraw money, through PayPal, through mechanisms that they get the money instantly, allow them to deposit money using any credit card. That doesn't happen when you're using offshore books that don't have licenses. So it makes the experience safe, and it takes people away from the offshore books where they're currently betting. They'd rather use someone that they know the Canadian government has vetted and they know it's safe and their money is safe online. A lot of things have happened over the years, Jack, in online gambling to make people a little hesitant, even though it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, to make people a little hesitant to, deposit with their credit card, to put money online, to leave money online. But when you have companies operating with legal licenses and jurisdictions, you don't have that worry any longer.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I'm sure some guy would do, maybe bet $500 with, an offshore. But if it's regulated, he knows the money's safe, he might bet 10,000. And
100%.
and especially with the real profit center is not the sports, but it's the iGaming. Those are that's stuff where you want to make sure that's in a regulated market where somebody actually it's
yeah,
not
like I mean, casino is. I mean, look, sports bring people through the doors, and you make 7% off. 7 to 10% is usually the spread. So if you have 100 million bet, you'll make 10% in profit at the end of the day before the year's up. But casino players, I mean, in iGaming, poker, casino, it's a massive market. These players are worth 3-4x, and a lot of companies focus just on the iGaming sector and avoid the sports because there's a lot of risk with taking large bets. You got to be able to hedge.
Let's jump to some questions.
Sure.
Okay, so Swapan is asking, are you planning to acquire any Indian companies in the future?
Well, we already acquired 2. So, we bought a poker company in July that like I mentioned, we've grown 5x the gross with the revenue. And in December, we acquired Live Pools, which we just rebranded to BLITF Pools. Now, when we studied both these companies, one, in the India market, a percentage, no matter who you are, like PokerStars operate in the India market, you have to have ownership of someone in the country. Like there has to be like someone living in India that has ownership, a group, a company, whatever it may be. So we've partnered with a group that's been in the business for 20 years that know a lot of our management from working in operating in our different sectors. So we have one of the best partners, local partners on the ground. We have an amazing management team with over, 4 of them have been in the business 20 years. And we acquired the poker company initially. We've grown that 5x. We were hitting records on a network. It's the Quadric network. We were hitting records. We were breaking our own records in the month of August when we ran the largest poker championship after the World Series of Poker. We were breaking our own records for the month of August on player acquisition. We love the market. For us to do additional acquisitions, I think the answer is yes. I mean, we're right now we're looking at a number of companies. We've been approached by a number of companies we're creating an ecosystem. So if you look at poker and you look at daily fantasy sports, there's a 55% cross conversion. So Jack, if you play poker, there's a 55% chance that you're going to come over and you're going to play daily fantasy sports when IPL, the cricket league, launches in March. And then it's the same. It goes back the same way. If you're our daily fantasy sports product, we have 1.7 million registered users in that product that we purchased. We bought that company for $8 million in December. That company has 7 figures in the first year and a half. When I looked at that, company, I saw DraftKings, if I'm being completely honest. Dream 11 it's worth $2.5 billion.
The DraftKings of India, basically.
Yeah. So I looked at the reason I can say, yeah, I mean, I say that because like I've been ranked, in the top 5 in NFL and NHL on DraftKings for 4 or 5 years. I've played in the World Championship. I've won, 7 figures playing DFS. I play it recreationally. And when I looked at the product, I looked at the product offering, I looked at the growth, I looked at everything that Live Pools were doing, and I was blown away because, this is, like I said, we're, in the India market's a few years behind the North America market. Right now we're looking at poker's exploding, DFS is exploding. That already happened in the United States and Canada, but it didn't happen in India. And that's one of the reasons why we targeted that area of the world is because of that. So, with Live Pools, we have 1.6. Here's a great example. Live pools have 1.7 million registered users. DraftKings have 8 million, and they've been in business almost 10 years.
Okay.
So they have 1 million actives during NFL. So actives means they have a million active players that are playing their DFS games. We're 500,000-600,000 already playing IPL in March, when that's what live pools we're doing. Okay. So our goal is in the next 24 months to have 10 million users on the live pools platform that we're cross marketing both to our poker product, our rummy product, our esports product, and our other products. And what happens when you cross market is you increase the lifetime value of the player. So that player, if you're a DFS player, let's call it, your lifetime value is $250 US, meaning that each year you're worth $250 to the company. If I cross market you over across to our poker product or our rummy product, all of a sudden then you're worth double.
Okay.
So we're creating an ecosystem to move our players within it, and it also removes all the cost per acquisition. So if you look at 1.7 million players that are playing on live pools right now, they're not playing on our poker product. We just started doing cross marketing from live pools to our poker product, which we'll start seeing a lot of the players. In most cases, it's an average of 55% will cross over and play another product.
So essentially right now, that's kind of the catalyst for a massive explosion in revenues, because you're going to have, you're going to be doing this cross marketing with these existing customers.
Right.
So you have this built-in organic.
Built-in organic ecosystem. Exactly.
Okay. So this is okay. So that's a big thing. Okay. So let's jump into some more questions. Philippe asking, when is Blitz Pool available for hockey DFS sports?
Right now the product's amazing, and you can go on if you're in the US and Canada and look at it.
Where do they go?
You can go to livepools.com, or you can go to blitzpools.com, because we just rebranded it in the last week. So live pools will redirect. We didn't make a decision on leaving the India market. When I say leaving, I mean, expanding into new markets. We're, in 12 to, it was like 18 months, they're acquiring 1.7 million, active players at some point. We're very happy operating that product in the Indian market, and we're not trying to make our lives difficult by doing too many things at the same time. We're extremely focused on, being in our own lane and only operating profitable ventures. Like when we're doing, we're looking at acquisitions on I'm probably looking at 2 to 3 a week. I only look at acquisitions that are making money. I'm not looking to go in, grow a business, do any of that myself. If so, we just start our own arm and we do it ourselves, because our management team have operated every product known to man in the online space. So, our goals are very simple: profitability, scalability, long-term growth, and return for our shareholders.
Philippe's asking, how many subscribers of Blitz Poker?
I think we're 600,000 to 700,000 right now, registered users. That doesn't mean they're all playing at the same time, but we're on average, we're acquiring 1,000 to 1,500 a day right now in the India market.
Okay. Let's see. Question here, Eric. Do you think that India is next to follow the moneymaker poker boom?
1,000,000%. It's literally the model, Eric, that we used when deciding what market to enter first. Every number, every type of statistic, everything we looked at, it reminded everyone on the management team who've been through the moneymaker effect in poker. It was the most eye-opening experience. As soon as we got to the country, like we looked at, all the different countries we could go into, from, getting a license in France, getting a license in Italy, Mexico, all the different places where you could get regulated licenses. And as soon as we got to India, we stopped and we said, this is it. This is the one we're going in. We started reaching out to friends and partners in the industry. And then we acquired the first product, which is our poker product. We acquired that. And then from there, right away, I said, let's go into the DFS market. There's massive synergies, and we have IPL, the cricket league, who we have the captain, Vivek, as he's one of our ambassadors. We're using his social media as outreach to acquire players. It's that marketing method is doing extremely well. We plan on doing a similar one in the United States with influencers. We've approached a number of people. We're working on a number of deals to get 4 to 6 influencers for the United States for the arm of business we're going to be driving down there.
Okay, so Swapan is asking, what are your plans for the biggest cricketing event, IPL, which will be in March and April? What kind of revenue are you expecting?
We didn't announce our we're the guys right now in the India market are putting together projections. For us, I mean, we have 1.7 million active users in that database. We have our poker players. We have over 2 million between both databases that we can market the IPL to, as well as we have the captain of the India national team as the face of our brand, our DFS brand. And we're about to sign, well, it's in negotiations. We're about to bring on one of the largest Bollywood stars in the India market, who will basically, he has a database of close to 50 million India followers. He'd be, he's like trying to think of an example of a comparable. He'd be like a male version of the Kardashians. Yeah, so we're doing a deal with him right now. And the goal with those deals is just to drive additional players at low cost per acquisition, lower than the $25 that I mentioned when we first started this conversation.
How long before you go into the USA market? Oh, the stuff you're talking about. Yeah, when are you going to the US?
It could be weeks. It could be. I mean, we're very close. It could be weeks. It could be 90 days, like before we announce. Like it's coming in the next. Like our goal is in the next quarter to be, talking a lot about the U.S. and North America market.
Calvin's asking, how many shares outstanding, fully diluted? How much does management own?
I would say there's about we financed the company, the management initially. So we did a $5.5, $6 million round between myself and the other management, the other C-level. So the first round, we didn't use any institutions. We financed it ourselves. And the second round, which was a smaller round, we brought in some very strategic partners. And those partners are institutions, hedge funds that, we can basically grow with. So, we have approximately 100 million shares outstanding. But what we did, Jack, and this was a very, forward-looking strategy and, purpose, we did this on purpose, was we baked in $30 million in warrants into our company because we launched during the pandemic. We had no idea what was going to happen to A, the capital markets, B, institutional investing, if the markets were going to crash. So we baked in $30 million worth of warrants, so our shareholders could exercise warrants all the way up as our stock grows and as our company grows.
Okay. Hang on. I guess revenue projections.
In the next 12 months, I would guess we would be. The IPL. We just acquired a huge asset, right? So we acquired a huge asset. We're hoping it performs extremely well, which we assume it will. It's the number 2, number 3 product in the DFS space, and then we're going to cross market them when IPL is over to our poker platform. So in 12 to 24 months in the India market alone, we're looking at hopefully $10 million in gross gaming revenue. In in the Canadian market, we're looking at another million, be $11 million. So these things, in India, they're, things are trading at between 22 to 30x times revenue.
So basically, you could be worth 300 million, plus, easy, just based on the Indians. Okay.
I mean, with our U.S. strategy alone, I think that 3 to 500 million is. I would be in the next 12 to 24 months. I'll be pretty disappointed if it's that low.
Okay. We got a kind of a loaded question. I don't know if you're going to answer this because stock price. Okay, so he wants to know, where is the stock going to be in 5 years, and is it going to be comparable to DraftKings in 5 years? So is the stock going to be 500, or where is the stock price going to be?
I mean, it depends. It depends on how our strategies work and how our acquisitions.
Let's look at 2 years. Let's just do 2 years. I mean,
5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
Like I'm hoping for that we are acquired in the next 5 years, to be honest. And we're building this company as two things: to be acquired or to make so much money that everyone's extremely happy because of the equity holdings that we all have. Every one of us in management have invested anywhere from high six figures to multiple millions of dollars into this company to get it going. We have a full team in Gibraltar, customer service, KYC, which is know your customer, which is basically making sure that there's no fraudulent activity, payments. Then we have a team in Malta. We have a team in India. So our goal is to grow this business as fast and as we can, to compete with the big boys, but we want to do it in a way where we're not just blowing money. The European model right now that you're seeing coming into the US, and anyone that lives in the United States are seeing this. They're coming in with war chests of money. Like, William Hill spent $20 million on their partnership with the NHL. NHL is 6% of sports betting that exists. So, for them to get that return back, only it only accounts for 6% of the worldwide betting market. Would I spend 20 million on that? No. So, they're trying to buy market share. They're trying to buy it's a land grab right now. They think it's a race. We're looking at it as a marathon. We want to be profitable. We want to deliver. We want to execute on the assets we have, and we want to be laser focused.
Okay, so Farron, I think he's making a comment.
No, when I say 1,000 new players a day, that's 1,000 registered new players.
Okay.
Then we can then it's our job as a company to convert them into paying customers. So these companies, a lot of the players sign up and deposit immediately, but a lot of the customers sign up and play in a free roll. So yes, he's 100% right. But our goal is the numbers he has on the screen, which is to convert as many as possible. Usually your conversion rate is anywhere from 55 to 60%. If you're doing a great job. Sometimes, you'll have customers doing 35% conversion rate, but 55 to 65% of the customers becoming paid playing customers is an internal goal that we have as a company.
Okay, so in other words, essentially what you're doing, you're acquiring these players coming in, 1,000 new players a day, right? But Farron, he's got the numbers here, right?
Yeah.
So essentially you're getting right now you're at the run rate of value is $43 million.
If we converted at the mall,
Yeah.
if the lifetime value is exactly what he has on the screen. So on average, when I talk about lifetime value, that's an average. It's not a median.
Yeah.
It's actually the mean of what players are worth. Like we may like an easy example for Farron is, we may have guys that are playing free rolls and not really generating us any money currently. Like say 20% of our poker site is not generating positive cash flow for the company. IPL launches next month. We cross market IPL to them, and they become a paid user in our DFS product. So the goal always is to acquire as many customers as you can, and then from that you cross market them through the ecosystem, through the product offerings that you have, whether it be rummy, skill gaming, anything at all, and to monetize them.
Okay, based on the comps, the industry comps, what is actually this worth? This new player acquisition, this let's call it 350,000 new players.
Okay.
Lifetime value. So what is the enterprise value of that right now? What is based on like comps? Is that worth 500 million? 10x?
It's one of these things where it depends on what games they're playing. Like, I just told you that the casino is 3x. It's 3x. It's worth 3x more than a sports betting player. So, if you get 100,000 casino players, they're worth probably $10, $20 million a year to the company. If you get 100,000 sports bettors, they could be worth $20, $25 million to the company. So it all depends on the sector and the games they choose to play for entertainment. If they're slots players, they could be playing 2-cent slots. Sometimes you bring in a blackjack player and he's playing $1,000 a hand. So how long does it take to the slots player to be worth the same as our blackjack player that came in? That question is so hard to answer that there's no analyst in North America that could give you, if you have a database of 500,000, what is it worth? And the first question he's going to ask is, what is the spread between what games they're playing and what products they're using? If you give me that information, then I'm going to tell you what the average revenue per player is worth.
Sean is asking, are you planning to be on NASDAQ like Score Media?
We're looking at it, and the reason why we're looking at it is because of the valuations. Like, the Score was 80 cents in the Canadian market. They're generating negative gross gaming revenue. So gross gaming revenue is like sales. So, if you look at the Score's last, 2 quarters, they've made under $20,000 in the last 2 quarters. They have negative sports betting revenue, which means they've lost money in that using that product. So just think about it as sales. People come in, they bet on a sport, they win, they leave. Okay. So if you come in, you bet $500 on the Score on the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight, or, the New York Yankees, whoever, and then you leave. So the Score ended up the last 2 quarters or more with negative gross gaming revenue. In Canada, as we speak, we're doing 100,000 a month in positive gross gaming revenue. We haven't even launched a marketing campaign. We're doing a lot of it through organic search engine optimization, things that our team are very familiar with in conversion tactics. So we'll do $1 million in gross gaming revenue. The Score in New Jersey did, I think it was $400 in the last 6 months. So for us to move to the U.S., it's a great idea, and I think it would fit when we take our U.S. plan and we sign off on the first few deals and we execute and we start moving into the U.S. market. They're valuing companies down there. I mean, the Score right now has $1 billion market cap. Yes, they rolled it back. I think there was a 6-to-1 rollback.
US market for sports betting is crazy right now.
It's crazy. So, if you ask me, should have we gone public in Canada, London, as in the UK or the US, I would have said US first, UK second, Canada third. But, there was only, when you look back in history of time in Canada, there's only been Amaya, which is PokerStars, that were really successful on the TSX. And it was a $33 stock at one point. And, the Canadian market, the stock people, that buy the retail investor in Canada, it's not, not a lot of them know a lot about the online gaming sector. They're used to the casino brands, MGM, land-based casinos, because they can see it and feel it. When, what they don't realize is online poker brands have 55% profit margin because there's no overhead with staffing with regards to dealers, people working in your blackjack pits, there's no overhead in that.
Sweeping the floors.
Yeah, you wake up. I mean, the
Okay.
poker, when I used to own poker sites, I'd go to bed and I'd wake up. The first thing I would do is check my rake for the night. So you're making money, the company's making money while you sleep and no one's working.
Let's jump at this. We're going to wrap up in just a little bit. So let's jump at this on two last questions. Amin is asking, I think we had another question. So which celebrities, Indian celebrities, have you involved in Blitzpool marketing during the what is it, IPL? Was it the cricket thing, right?
Yeah. Dinesh Karthik is the captain of the India national team. He's a goalie. He's an extremely famous cricket player. We have an exclusive deal with Dinesh to represent both our poker room and our DFS product, as well as we'll be adding 5 to 7 more celebrities in that market, and we'll have news in the coming weeks prior to the IPL launching.
Okay. Calvin's asking, any plan? I guess you kind of touched on that, right? Any plans to tie in with a land-based casino with a big database like MG?
Yeah, that's when I was talking about our B2C strategy in the US, how we were going to enter the market and what we were going to provide in value for our land-based casinos. We gain access to their customers, and we're marketing to their own players based on the structure and the deal that we're going to be offering to these casinos.
Okay. All right. Two last questions. What else? What's in the news pipeline? Like, what kind of do you have any M&A activity, any deal flow happening? What can we expect in the next few months?
I mean, we're constantly working on M&A activity. If I'm being honest, I spend a lot of my week looking at deals. We have deals. We have 5 guys with 20 years experience in the industry, massive networks. People don't have exits when they're private companies, right? They don't have liquidity for their shareholders. How many people have invested in private companies? They're 12 years old. They have no idea what their equity's worth. If you're operating in a public setting, and your equity can be transferred over to a company that is trading publicly, and your shares, if we acquired a private company and provided them with shares in our company, all of a sudden, their shareholders that have been there for a number of years, they become liquid and they have the ability to exercise and sell, wait, whatever they wish. So we're looking at 2 to 3, 5 deals some weeks. So acquisition will be a big part. And then our entry into the US market, IPL launching in India, huge for us. Huge. That's a huge focus of our team right now. We're preparing, getting ready to execute on a number of marketing plans, getting ready to sign a lot of Bollywood stars and athletes who will be driving traffic through social, which is the cheapest way to acquire customers. And we're all about cheap CPA.
No, you're very focused on the operations. It seems like you have tremendous domain expertise in this area, which is maybe we should have a live stream where you just talk about the industry, but that could be for the future.
I think whatever you want, I'm here for you.
Yeah, I think we might have like a roundtable, different CEOs. Sure. Let's see. Okay, last question, which we always ask. In your opinion, top 3 reasons why investors should consider, bets right now.
I mean, number one, I do a lot of VC investing. I probably own 8 to 12 companies, private companies that I'm looking to scale and take public, have someone take public and have the management team go public. So, we can scale them even further. The number one would be our management team. Like, I don't think that you can compare our management team with any if you look at an overall picture of everyone running our business, the Andy Lees, the Ian Merrimans, Joe Holka he runs all of our content. He worked for Mark Cuban at Fantasy Labs. We got Jesse and Saxon both former CEOs, ran a private company in the India market that was doing 800 million profit. I don't think you will look at a better management team in the online gaming space than ours. And I bet on talent. And so when I'm doing investing, when I'm doing anything, I bet on the management. So we have guys and our advisors. We have, it's tier one, class A people. People are just starting to hear about us because we spent the first 6 months getting the right structure in place, getting all of our licenses in place, getting all of our deposit options in place. All of these take a lot of time. Now it's time to execute. So, 2 is we're operating in markets that there's not negative ROI. We're not going to lose money by acquiring players. We're very focused on making money, where a lot of companies, they're having, they're in a contest between each other who can grow the fastest without thinking about the shareholders and what value they're actually bringing. A lot of these companies are trading at values not based on income, but based on, their growth and their news releases. We're very focused, hyper focused, in making money, executing the business, and growing step by step. And maybe it takes us a little bit longer to get our share price to $10, but we're patient and we're all invested as a management team in this company. Like, I don't take a salary. You can go on our financials and take a look. I don't take a salary. I have, over 7 figures invested in the business, and I'm betting on ourselves in this market to succeed. The second would be we're operating with strategies in the India market. It's 65% of the population are under 35 and are playing online, and there's billions of people living in India, and there's not a lot of competition there. So we're in markets where everyone's focused on the US in a strategy where they're spending tens of millions of dollars to acquire players. We're focused on money. We're focusing our money on markets where we can grow and turn a profit and grow the business and make money. And then we're going into markets where, with a different strategy than people are using, that is profitable. So we basically are using a strategy of 20 years in the business that isn't about, raising money and raising more money and raising debt. We have no debt, and trying to do a land grab and acquire, more areas, more licenses in the US, just so we have a good press release and our stock pops. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to grow this long term with with an exit in mind. I'm getting old, Jack. I want to retire.
Nice. You're just getting started, man. All right. So with that said, on that note, Chris, we're gonna catch up with you next time.
Sure. Anytime.
Hopefully, we have some big news coming up in the next.
I anticipate in the next 60, could be anywhere from 14 days to 60. We'll have some news for the market that everyone will be happy with.
Okay. I guess that's a hint, but I want to have you back.
Yeah, I'm just being honest.
Okay, fantastic.